it's Angela. Welcome back to my channel. A very happy new year to each and every one of you. I'm sending you thoughts and wishes of joy, happiness, health, and lots of hope. 2021 is going to be a fantastic year. I've chosen my special word this year. After a lot of deliberation, I've gone with cultivate. It's going to help me focus on the things that are important to me. Things like friendships, hope, opportunities, health, of course, joy, and lots of inspiration. So I do wish you all the best, and may all your dreams come true this year. Now, I did promise that I would share with you how I store my scraps and paper and things, focusing mostly on the scraps and what I do with bits to keep them close at hand, so that I don't build up this huge collection. And I will say I have been working on them, as you've seen in the last couple of videos, so I have managed to whittle quite a bit of them down. I'll show you how I do that, my little process. It works for me, and obviously everybody's different, so have a look and see and let me know what you think. It might help you. All right, so first of all, I'm going to show you what I do when I get a kit and what I do with that first of all. So let me just grab this quickly. Okay, so let's hope that you can see this. This is my container that I use to store all of my papers that are mostly whole. All right, so what I've done here is, it's a container. It's not too big. I would say it's probably 15 inches across and probably about 10 to 12 inches in width. It's nice, it's plastic, it fits nicely underneath my table, so it's easily accessible. And what I do here is, just take the lid off, I store all my various designers that I like to work with in here. So for example, Amity Bloom. If you go into here, these are all the whole pages. Let's just take out something that I have printed off, and these are the various pages that I might refer to when I'm looking for something specific to do with Amity Bloom. And I use Amity Bloom quite a lot, so I've got a lot of whole pages that might be left over from projects or things that I have just kept. I often like to just print out a kit, so when I'm looking for inspiration, I've got it all together and it's here on hand. So those just go in there like that. So there's all sorts of things to do with Amity Bloom in there. My Porch Prince is another person I love to use a lot, and I've got all sorts of pages of kits and things that I've printed off, might be left over, and I put them all in here. So that's what I do with this. All right, so all the whole pages go into these individual things here. I've got quotes, labels, I've got one for Tracy Fox, I've got various things. This is my chapter 1 kit, and I keep it all like that in there. All right, so this is a great way to manage your kits once they're printed, especially because before I used to just have this big ever-growing pile of pages and things that I hadn't used, and I like to just keep them all together, and it's easy when you're looking for something. Here, for example, I've printed out and taken off some of the butterflies from this particular chapter 1 page, but sometimes it's better for me to keep them like this, because when I'm looking for something, I can look over the whole page. I don't always do that, but that is one of the ways I work with stuff. All right, so that's how I store the whole pages. This is really, thank you, Abby. This is really very easy. Doesn't take up lots of space. It's not the size of a huge cabinet, and I don't have a cabinet, so this is a really easy way to store these. I got this, I'm sure, off Amazon. I will try and find the link for it and put that in my description box if you're interested. It came with these hanging folders in it as well. All right, so that is the first thing. All right, so now we get into what do I do when they are all chopped up and I've got bits of paper not linked to any specific kit. What do I do with all those scraps that end up in, it used to be a huge box, 2 boxes full. This is what I do. I've got a container. Now you could just take a cardboard box, Really, you could cover a box. That was what I'd used for a while. Then I came across this on a sale for next to nothing, and I just thought, right, that'll fit these perfectly, and it does. So what I've got is I've got these envelope plastic envelope things, and what I've got in here is I've divided all the scrappy pieces into colors. So everything in here is pink or related. Might be bits of wallpaper, might be bits of all sorts of avocado paper, just all sorts of paper, bits from kits, things that are pink based, and I put them all in there. I've done the same with the blues. I've got this one, which is a lot of mixed colors. This is the one I've been working on most recently. I've stored everything that I've pulled together that I'm working on in there. And sometimes I do that. When I'm finished, I will then decide where these bits need to go. But at the moment, these all belong to pretty much the look that I'm working on with them at the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean it's all from this kit. I can see I've got pieces of Artie Mays in here and Calico Collage and different things. So this is all very floral at the moment, and it's all in there. Then I've got a green one, I've got peach one, a yellow one. Again, this is very floral, cream based. I've got purple, and then I've even got a neutral one as well, like that. I had a booklet from Edith Holden, and I just kept that all together because it really was, you know, to itself. But I've managed to whittle down probably two containers as deep as this of scraps. I've thrown nothing out. I have used and worked away these kinds of things. And I do suggest that this is a great way to do this. Get yourself a box, go and get some of these. I think I got 36 of these for about £8 on Amazon. And I like them clear because I can see what colours inside. I don't need any labels or anything like that. All right, so that's just one of the ways that what I do with the bigger scraps. Right, when I come back, I'll show you what I do with some of my others. Right, now here you can see I've got a little container. I don't even know what it was from, but I have got these radiated bits coming out of this container. Now what I do with this, these are my really tiny scraps. I mean things like this size, and I am ashamed to tell you, not really, I've got smaller. And I put anything that I think is a piece of a scrap into this container here, and you can see now what I use this for is a lot of my layering. So if I'm layering a tag, I'm layering an envelope, if I'm layering absolutely anything at all, I come and look in here. It gives me a really quick method to find tiny pieces of paper in the shade I'm sort of looking for, and I have all sorts going on in here. This has been really handy. So this is not a very big container at all. You could pick this up. In fact, it's probably some recycled piece I've used for it. I think it's probably the earbud container actually. And it's a perfect little container to use like that. This stays on my desk just at the top over here, and I draw from it all the time. And I constantly replenish as I'm finding pieces that I'm not using from larger pieces, and I put them in here. So I pretty much throw nothing away. I mean, I have got a piece in here. I've just seen it now. That is like small. I'm sure I've got even smaller, but I put the very small ones in the front. I can see through this container. So this is a good idea to keep. I mean, I'm honestly telling you here, I don't throw much away. I really don't. So this is what I use it for. Even little bits of scrappy pieces of Edith Holden font, anything like that, it goes in here. Even got old book pages, anything. So it goes in here. Hang on to it, ladies. You will use it. Now, for the bigger pieces, sometimes I look at a piece and I think, oh, I'm not really going to use that. But I never throw anything away. And I'm going to show you some of the things that I do. Now, I've got a couple of containers here. This one, I throw in any little bits that I've cut out from a sheet that I'm not going to use, but I might use this in something else. So I might layer up a paper clip or something. I throw the bits in here. These are all little cut-offs that have come off from a page that I might, like for example there, where I haven't used any of those words, but I might use them in the future. So I throw them in here, and look, there's a really tiny piece that can actually go in there. That's the kind of sizes I keep. I am sad, but I throw nothing away. And as you can see, I've got all sorts in here that I've cut off from bits and pieces that have remained from pages, and I just throw them in here. I look in here all the time for pieces, all the time. This is a piece I cut out from a circle. It was I used the outer edge, and I've kept the inner piece. So all sorts goes in here, all the different pieces. Tiny butterflies, they're in here as well. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. So any bits and pieces, stamps, often have leftover stamps or any kind of thing, I throw it in here. I use this a lot. Right, so that's the one thing. Now, you've got pieces, you think, oh, I might not use that in my journal. What do you do with them? Right. First thing I do is I make tabs. I'm fortunate enough to have one of those whale tail punches that cuts out this shape. And it took me a long time to get hold of one, but it doesn't have to be that. You can use any kind of shape to make a tab. You can even just make a rectangle and sew that onto your page. It doesn't really matter what the shape is, but I use all the spares that I think, oh, I'm not going to use that paper. I then go and cut off the remainder bits. If I can get one of these out, I cut it out, because look at all of these I have collected in here, loads and loads, and I use them. So these are great on hand when I'm making a tag or journal card or anything, and I think, oh, let me look in this box. It's already cut. I just have to look for something. I can see what matches nicely, and this is what I use. All right, so I go and use those in there. Another thing you can do with your leftover scrappy, especially the long thin bits, I make these paper ruffles, all sorts of paper ruffles. I throw them all in here, all sizes, all colors, whatever I've got, and I sew them and they're ready to go. Sometimes page edge pieces, and I've sewn those. I throw them in here. It doesn't matter what it is, I throw it all in here. So nothing gets away from me. I have these on hand, and when you're doing your journal, lovely to have this kind of embellishment around you. You can pick it up and think, oh, is that going to go with what I'm doing or not? So another great idea for you to use away those scraps. Another idea that I use is anything that I feel I can make into a tag size, I cut into a tag size. I might use it as it is like that. I might put something on there, but if I can get a tag size out and I know I'm not going to use this as a journal page and it's left over, I go right ahead and cut out those tag sizes. Sometimes they are bigger, sometimes they're great for a base. You can see here's another one, and I put them all in here, and I do the same with the cardstock. So I had some craft stock that was left over, and I thought, oh, I could make thinner tags. I'm going to use these as rectangles, all this size. I don't throw it away. I throw it in here. If you've got a die cut machine and you've cut out circles for something, and I did, these were the in the middle bits of something I was cutting out for an envelope or whatever. I keep them all, they go in there. Have some of your die cuts ready. I like to use, I've got this shape, which I got off eBay, I think. And I cut out these, have them on hand. This comes from the middle. I use this, I use this. I've got videos showing you how to use these kind of bits and pieces. So don't be afraid. If you've got little tag dies, cut them out. Here's out of wallpaper, here's a scrappy piece. These are on hand. You can easily just pick these up and decorate them and put them into your journal. So keep those on hand as well. It's much easier when you've got stuff around, I find. It inspires me. The other thing I cut out are small little tags, little tiny ones. So if you have a look in here, I've got that very small tag. This was one that Carol gifted to me. It's this old Stampin' Up, like a jewelry stamp. So I use a lot of those as well. So I have those there too. So whatever you have, stamp, punch, whatever, make sure you make full use of every piece of paper that you possibly can. All right, here's another thing I do, frames. Make frames. This is also from scrappy piece of paper. I've just made these up from various things that I had, sewn them together, and there you go. I'll use that on something. So don't be afraid to work away those scraps. Have things on hand. It's definitely really handy. Excuse the pun. Right, the other thing, of course, and you've seen me do this a lot, people say, well, what paper do I use for the die cuts? Well, this is an Artie Mays piece of paper. I've used my wildflower dies, and I just cut up the scraps that will fit on the page pieces I have left over. I just keep cutting them as I go. There are loads in here. A lot of them are from just normal, this is from wallpaper. You know, sometimes like this one, I'm looking for a specific color, and I've used actual scrapbooking cardstock, the 12 by 12 pages, and it's a little bit more robust. But to me, it makes no difference. They are all, I use a thicker paper anyway, probably a 120 to 160 GSM. So again, that's just from a die cut that I used at Christmas time. And it's all in there. So that's another great idea. Some people store these really nicely in folders. I go through these a lot. I like them in front of me, so when I'm looking, I just grab this lid and I look for what I want in here. I don't really they don't really tangle that much. If I want something, I just pick it up and there it is. You know, so it's not too much of a problem. But if it works for you to have them nicely laid out, then go for it. For me, this works absolutely fine. Okay, now to get onto the fabric side of things, when I do cut off a lot of little scraps of fabric. I do, and I keep a lot of the tiny scraps and bits in here. Now that's not really that tiny, but that is the kind of thing I keep in here. This is just left over from one of my other things. I put a lot of scraps or bits that are left over in here. Now if I'm making a cluster, if I'm looking for something that's really little, I've got all sorts of sizes, usually pretty small, and I do keep small sizes. I mean, I've even got that size, but I would sew that underneath a button, a tiny button, with some other bits of lace and things, and it'll just add to it, and comes out so pretty. Now, I usually throw little lacy bits in here as well, so things like that. All of these things are do get used, so we're never going to have that situation where there's nothing. There we go, there's another one of those. Oh, there's a little 2 pieces of paper, they can go in there. So you know, I love using these. So whenever I get something like this, which is from a doily, a great base to make little clusters from, little scraps of fabric, and I might make that smaller, you know, just everything in here, and I use a lot of this stuff. So that's quite interesting. Here's some of my Avril yarn I've had left over, all sorts of scrappy bits. I've wrapped this one up a bit. I might end up making a ruffle with this, you know, just all sorts of bits in here, all sorts. So that's what I do with the fabric pieces. Now I would love to have more storage space, and I have a lot as it is, but I do find that when I pack things away, I don't tend to use them as much. So this container here, along with these here, they all stand at the end of my desk. So if I'm looking, these are the things I use all the time. So I don't pack them away. I do have them at the end of my desk there. And then when I'm working on any one of these things, I just have it open and then I close it up and put it at the end of my desk. It's an easy access of where I'm working. Of course, I do have other things as well. I've got my butterflies that I've cut out, and I keep those right here because I use them all the time. I've got stamps that I've collected from various people, and I have those here all the time. I've got lots of little bits and pieces, and they are around me, but of course I've got loads that I don't use as often, and those are packed behind me. Yeah, so storage, little bits of fabric that I've wound onto bobbins, or onto old empty cotton reels. I've got all of this stuff. This is the stuff I use a lot. It's right here next to me, in a little container. All right, so there's a little hopefully some help for you as to how I sort of work with my scrappy pieces. Yeah, I hope that has been helpful for you. Probably not. And maybe you can find a way that works for you. It took me a long time to try and work out what worked for me, and everybody's different, and that's because really I'd like it all packed away and not see it at all. But when I do that, I find that I'm not as inspired. I might look at something like, I don't know, this, and think, what can I do that I can use that? And that inspires me. I know that's weird, but that's how I'm wired. I like the challenge of it. So I think I like some of my stuff around me most of the time. All right, ladies, I hope you're going to have a lovely, lovely weekend. Think of your word, that word that's going to ground you and keep you motivated this year. And I want to thank you guys again. We're going to have some exciting projects hopefully this year. So look out for those. I will try still and maintain my Wednesday. Well, I think it's Tuesday for some people, Tuesday afternoon, but for most of us, well, me here, it's Wednesday morning and Saturday morning. So look out for those videos and let's carry on crafting again this year. See you all very soon now. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.